Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, and you know what? I think I'm gonna dial it back a little bit for this video. Today's video was originally going to be the 266th time I was going to discuss Nami's boobs, but at the last minute I decided to talk about freedom! To appreciate Nami's boobs, because really what you gotta understand about... Okay, fine. Alright, we're gonna be talking about the theme of freedom. That's very prolific in the One Piece world and in a lot of works of fiction. Stop me if you've heard this one before, okay? In this world, there is some kind of force or entity or organization that controls the entire country. Sometimes the entire world has it under their thumb. It's completely oppressed. And then a small group of people, sometimes only one lone person at first, stands up to fight against that machine. And then there's the concept of your manga, or your anime, or your video game, or your novel, or your movie, or your television show. You know, it's been done a lot. The examples from anime that pop off the top of my head immediately, beside One Piece, are Attack on Titan. You got the Scout Regiment, you got the Wings of Freedom, going out into the wilds to defeat all the Titans and reclaim the world for humanity. That's what that select group of people, the Scout Regiment, is all about. The Titans, in this case, being that oppressive force. Now, later on in Attack on Titan, you find out, something else about the plot, but I'm just going to, that's spoilers kind of a little bit right now. So, then you have Black Clover. That was the other example that just popped off the top of my head, where you had the Clover Kingdom, which was ruled by this, this very powerful, classist system where you have the royals and the nobles that have all the money and all the power and all the magic, and the country of the Clover Kingdom is literally laid out like a giant mountain with all the rich people on the top of the mountain and all the peasants on the bottom of it. Alright, so that certainly did exist in our world, at certain times. It still does in some parts of the world. But in Black Clover, it's dialed up to 12. Tabata really does a great job of making you really despise all of the royals and the nobles in that world, and setting up the peasants are the ones that are going to change it, okay? And in the One Piece world, we of course have the world government, which I don't think I need to really explain what the world government's all about. It's pretty much right there. It's self-explanatory. So, you have the pirates of the world, though, going against that grind, fighting against the Marines, fighting against the world government in turn, and just trying to add a little bit more chaos into this world that the world government tries to maintain, alright? And then, of course, later on, you find out, hey, not all pirates are bad, and the world government and the Marines, yeah, they're pretty corrupted. It's a pretty messed up system. And then smack dab in the middle of it all, you have our main character, Monkey D. Luffy, the captain of the Straw Hat Pirates, who is, of course, going after the One Piece. Why is he going after the One Piece? Well, because whoever gets the One Piece becomes the Pirate King. Yes, of course, but why does Luffy want to become the Pirate King? Well, he's even stated before, the reason he wants to become Pirate King is because the Pirate King is the one person in the world that has the most freedom. The thing that Luffy and a lot of other bearers of the Will of D yearn for. The fascinating thing about Luffy is that yearning for freedom doesn't seem to be coming from his intellect or some kind of philosophy. I mean, it is a philosophy, but what I'm trying to say here is Luffy probably did not sit down and think about where he wanted to be in life. You know what I mean? It's his inherent nature. It's his instinct. Just because he was born as a member of the Will of D, he just wants that freedom, and he's going to go get it. Luffy is a very straightforward individual. It's used for comedic effect a lot of times. Luffy is certainly not somebody that keeps secrets or tries to, overthink things. He just blurts whatever's on his mind. For example, whenever he first meets Brook, or he first met Charlie, what did he ask them? He's like, hey, that's cool. How do you poop? In Brook's case, he just answered it. Charlie almost killed him, but Charlie almost bit his head off. It's like, how dare you, you crude man, So, that he's not an idiot. It's just that's the first thing that he thought about. Hey, you know what? I'm curious about it too. How does Brook poop? I'm not saying you need to go into great detail with it, Oda, but, if I met a walking, talking skeleton with an afro, that would be probably one of my first questions I would ask. Probably not the first, okay, how do you see without eye sockets? That would be, well, he has eye sockets. Yo, doesn't have any eyes. But, that would be somewhere down the first, 5 questions I would be curious about, right? So, Luffy is a very straightforward kind of guy, and that's basically his philosophy in life, you know? It's just like, I'm just gonna go ahead and get whatever I want. To the point where Luffy can be pretty selfish. This was also shown during Fishman Island when they were talking about, you know, defeating Hody and everything, and Luffy had that line, you know, Luffy's like, I don't want to be a hero. I'm a pirate. Okay, pirates get to keep all the food for themselves and all that stuff. Heroes have to share that food with the common folk. Now, Luffy is not so selfish that he doesn't care about the plight of others. It really just does seem like the people that he meets and he becomes friends with, he cares about only those individuals. Luffy certainly did not set out to change the world for the better. That's not Luffy's goal. That's more Dragon's speed. Dragon, also a member of the Will of D, is doing this a much more tactical, much more methodical and intelligent path. He's building up a revolutionary army to take on the world government, take on the Tenryubito. He's drafting up plans. He's gathering allies for that sole purpose. Dragon, if it's going to be anybody, Dragon is going to be the person that's going to collapse the Tenryubito system and make the world a better place for everybody. Luffy is just out for his own goals, and of course he cares about the goals of his friends, and that includes not just the Straw Hats, but also the people he meets. Like, for example, he met Vivi. He learned about Vivi's plight and the problem that Alabasta had, and he went to go save it. Same thing with Rebecca and Kyros at Dressrosa. He cares about them, alright? So if like, Kyros called up Luffy one day and is like, Luffy, Dressrosa's in danger, you need to come help us, Doflamingo's back, and and then just cuts out. Luffy, being the kind of guy he is, he cares about his friends, he would go back to Dressrosa, he would stop what he's doing and go help his friends out. That's what Luffy's about. Now, if it was just some random island that Luffy or, you know, none of the Straw Hats had ever been to before, and they don't know anybody on that island, and they asked for help, that's a little bit more debatable whether Luffy would do something. Like at Punk Hazard, Luffy was already pretty interested in what Punk Hazard was. It was a giant island filled with, like, fire. You know, Luffy's like, ooh, that seems like a cool place. And then they made the call about samurais. It's like, there are samurais on that island? Let's go! You know, but you can't just say Luffy is this absolute, like, selfless person, like this hero that wants to save the entire world from oppression. That is not Luffy's character. That has never been Luffy's character, okay? But it's that nature and that instinct that drives him toward the freedom to become the Pirate King. All right. Now, I also thought about other pirates, because Luffy's, of course, not the only person that wants to go get the One Piece, right? You got the Supernovas that are going after it, too. Yeah, they might have their own agendas along the way, but I think the vast majority of pirates that set out, you know, at Reverse Mountain to begin their Grand Line journey, you know, they do vie for the One Piece. Even if it's a far-off dream, even if it's, like, maybe not the main reason they went to the Grand Line, that's still probably in the back of their head. Like, look at Beiji. Okay, Beiji did not necessarily go into the Grand Line to become King of the Pirates. Beiji was a Mafia Don in the West Blue, and it was pretty much implied that, like, he just got so powerful in the West that everything bored him. Like, he was the most powerful Mafia boss, so it's like, well, I guess I'll go into the Grand Line and see if I can influence that place the same way I've influenced the West Blue, see if I can become strong there. So it seemed like he went to the Grand Line out of boredom, but, you know, I'm sure Beiji has thought about, like, what would, let's head into the New World and see if we can find the One Piece. Why not? You know, Law didn't exactly yearn for the One Piece either, but I'm sure if he found the thing, if he was close to Raftel, if he had a chance to go get the One Piece, I'm not sure, you know, Law would just turn that down, as I'm sure a lot of pirates, you know, change their goals as they go through the Grand Line. Some of them, I'm sure, just get completely annihilated. You know, some of them decide to retreat out of the Grand Line, like Zeph did and Don Krieg did. Some of them run into Yonko fleets and decide to join them, like Ace. You know, Ace had his own crew, the Spade Pirates, but then they ran into the Whitebeard crew, and after that, you know, he decided to pretty much try to make Whitebeard the king of the pirates rather than himself the king of the pirates. Also, I'm pretty sure Ace didn't really, I mean, Ace, I'm not really sure, what was Ace's primary goal in going into the Grand Line. I think it was just something very nebulous. It wasn't as concrete as Luffy. Luffy definitely wanted to go find the One Piece and become Pirate King, but Ace didn't really like his father, so I think Ace's primary goal was just like, I want to prove to the world I can be my own pirate. You know, I'm not following in the shadow of Roger necessarily. But all that anyway got shelved when he met Whitebeard and he decided to make Whitebeard king of the pirates. Then you have like Hawkins and Drake that ended up becoming members of the Beast Crew. Whether that be just, you know, for the time being, like, okay, well, we're gonna just, you know, follow the rules and work under Kaido, but we still want to eliminate him and try to get our hands on the One Piece. That could be the goal too. So what happens if these other pirate crews, you know, ended up finding the One Piece? You know, how would that exactly go? Is like, well, it would not have the same effect as Luffy or a member of the Will of D getting it. Okay? All the members of the Will of D are trying to get that freedom. It's just in different ways or different alignments. Like I said, Luffy is not somebody, he's not like a typical pirate. They're not going around pillaging villages, they're not murdering people, alright? They're just trying to have as much fun as possible. Nami might rob you, sure, but they're not committing as much atrocities as other pirate crews are, okay? Blackbeard, he has the Will of D too. He's vying for freedom, but his kind of freedom is much more evil. His kind of freedom is like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, wipe out the world government, burn everything down, and then I'll become king of the world, basically. That's freedom. Freedom for my, you know, my crew and the people that rule under me, you know, that's my kind of freedom, right? What would happen if, let's say, Eustace Kid found the One Piece and became king of the pirates? Do you think Eustace Kid would prosper like freedom, or not maybe not himself, but just be a symbol of freedom throughout the world? I really don't think he would. Beiji, if he found the One Piece and became king of the pirates, he would exude that kind of like Mafia Don sort of like influence on the world. But if Luffy became king of the pirates, strike that, when Luffy becomes king of the pirates, the world will see him as not an oppressive force, because that's not what Luffy does. You know, Luffy, let's say at Raftel, part of the One Piece is Pluton. It might not be, it might be, but let's say it is for this argument. Do you think Luffy, upon finding Pluton, will be like, oh, cool, guys, we found the One Piece, I'm king of the pirates, I have all the freedom in the world, and we found an ancient battleship that can obliterate an island with one shot. Well, guys, come on, Frankie, fire that thing up, let's go take over some islands. That's not what Luffy would do, alright? He would be like the exact polar opposite force to the world government. Okay, even if Luffy does not try to spread freedom to the world, his presence as the Pirate King would scare the living crap out of the world government. Alright? His power and his influence, like, that you would have people like the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, people that just start following Luffy, kind of whether or not Luffy really approves of it or not. Luffy would be seen as a symbol of that. He would be seen as like, oh, our Pirate King, the new Pirate King, the person following in Roger's footsteps, is Monkey D. Luffy. And he's a pretty cool guy. He's going around saving islands. He's not really going out and murdering people or anything, you know? He was just vying for his own sense of freedom. And Luffy's already been stated to be a heavy influence to other people. Mihawk even said as much at Marineford. Remember what Mihawk said? He's like, the most horrible power, the most terrifying power that boy has. It's not his devil fruit, or it's not his potential to get stronger. Oh, no. It's the influence he has on other people, because Luffy comes bursting into Marineford with all these Impel Down prisoners and all these warlords and stuff, all these people working under Luffy, as Mihawk and a lot of the other warlords and a lot of the other Marines saw it. You know, Luffy's the one that orchestrated this whole mess. Buggy as well. Buggy is also a horror, you know, to the world government. They gotta make sure Buggy does not become king of the pirates. But no, it's like Mihawk is like, yeah, this boy influences people, whether or not he's even aware of it, okay? So Luffy becomes king of the pirates. They see what kind of king he is, how he acts, what he does, and what he doesn't do. Other people, sometimes maybe just regular civilians, I'm not even talking about other pirates here, other civilians in the world might look at Luffy as inspiration, like, yeah, that kid's just trying to get as much freedom as he can. And then they start looking around and they start questioning, hey, we really don't have that much freedom, do we? It's like, no, we don't. We're just living on this island, but we gotta pay all this tribute to the Tenryubito all the time? That's kind of bullcrap. How come they get to decide what we do with our money? How come they get all our money? How come they rule us all? Who decided that? Do you see what's happening now? A lot more people, I think, are going to be signing up for the Revolutionary Army at that point. Now, of course, I have no idea how the timeline of this is all going to go down. I have no idea if, like, Luffy becomes, like... Because you figure Luffy becoming king, that should be, like, the bookend to the story, right? Or very, very near the bookend to the story, right? You think that, you know, Dragon would enact his whole plan against the Tenryubito before that. But let's say, even if he does do that, let's say Dragon enacts his war with the Tenryubito, and the Tenryubito are beginning to fall, and the world government is kind of in this moment of chaos and everything, you know, then Luffy becomes the Pirate King. That's like the ultimate, you know, beacon to the world, like, now is the time to rise up. The era is shifting. The time of the Tenryubito ruling over everything is over. Okay, it's time for a whole new beginning with this. The world government is still in place. I keep saying Roger. Dragon does not want to dismantle the whole government, because that's going to cause too many problems, okay? Like, it's just like the government collapses overnight. You have sheer anarchy everywhere. Although, I mean, most of the countries of One Piece already are self-governing to an extent. You know, they have their own kingdoms. Sometimes they're monarchies. Sometimes they're democracies, okay? It's just the world government's ruling over everybody, right? In theory, the reason they're doing that is protection money. It's just like, oh, you pay the heavenly tribute, and we make sure the Marines will protect your island from all those pirates and everything like that, right? But if things change and Luffy becomes the new Pirate King, maybe the new pirate era after that will be very different from this one, okay? Maybe if Dragon dismantles the Tenryubito, you know, it'll be, like, the world government will still enact protection, but they won't, you know, they won't require a tribute first. It's like the Marines will just protect every island equally. They won't discriminate based on who has the heavenly tribute. All that stuff is because of the Tenryubito, right? The Marines, there is corruption in the Marines, but the Marines as a whole are not necessarily a bad entity. It's just that the Tenryubito, you know, control them, and they tell them what to do. You know, like, an example of this is like when Luffy punched out Charlos on Sabaody, and they had to send Kizaru to the island. Who was the person that set up that rule? That if a celestial dragon comes to harm, an admiral must be sent out to deal with the problem. Was it the admirals that came up with that rule? No. Was it Sengoku that came up with that rule? No. It was the celestial dragons that came up with that rule, all right? You know, they're the ones that are like, all right, well, you know, you have to send an admiral, and Kizaru's like, okay, well, that's the chain of command. I gotta go do it. That's what the powers that be say, right? So if they're out of the picture, and if Luffy becomes this beacon of freedom, the whole new... I'm not so... you know, pie-eyed and naive to think, like, you know, One Piece is going to end on this absolutely happy ending where the world is, like, perfectly content and, like, rainbows and butterflies are in the distance. In fact, I'd rather prefer Oda didn't go down that road with it. I'd rather him end it in a similar way to, like, Avatar: The Last Airbender, where it's a positive ending. It's like a hope for the future. That's what's important here. Hope for a new generation, that things are going to be different, but there's still a lot of work ahead. I think that would be the best way to really end the story. Like, okay, Luffy is this symbol of freedom. The pirates are changing. The world government is reformed now. Maybe Dragon is maybe somebody in the higher echelons of the world government. You know, the world now is not, you know, oppressed by the Tenryubito. The Marines are way better off. They're protecting everybody equally from crime, as it should be. But there's still a lot of work ahead for this to happen. There might still be rowdy pirates out there causing trouble. You know, there might be a new generation of Yonko later down the line. There might be a really strong pirate crew. Like, let's say Big Mom or Kaido are still around by the end of the story. They might reject that new order. They might reject the new Pirate King, the new world government, and they might be trying to start up their own thing. So that's a problem in and of itself that they're going to have to deal with. But it's hope that things can improve, okay? That's really what it's all about, okay? And of course, Luffy, as I said, he's not the only one that shares this idea of freedom. All the Will of D bearers do, some more chaotic than others, as in the case with Blackbeard, but Garp has it, Garp could be the person, the voice of reason that could attempt to reform the Marines. In fact, here's an idea. How about we have a scene near the end of One Piece where, you know, you have this big epic battle for at Raftel for the One Piece treasure itself, and all these forces are there. And what if you had a moment where the Tenryubito were just ordering the Marines around and they're just going mad with power, like even more drunk with power than they are? Like you have St. Roswald or Charlos up there, like, you know, I'm tired of this! Marines, eliminate everybody! Burn everything to the ground! And then Garp is the voice of reason. Garp, like, looks at the Tenryubito and he looks at all the Marines, Garp being the hero of the Marines, and Garp speaks down to them and he's just like, you know what? Why are we listening to these assholes? We always listen to them. Who's happy with this? Who is content with this? And you know, a lot of Marines, especially the younger Marines, are probably going to be looking to Garp like, you know, he's right. You know, I joined the Marines so I could protect everybody. I didn't join the Marines so I can only protect certain places or so I could oppress others. That's not what I'm here for. And some of the much older Marines, like the Vice Admirals and even the Admirals, might look to Garp and have like an epiphany, like Akainu. I'm not saying it'll happen, but Akainu might have a flashback to, like, when he first wanted to join the Marines. Akainu might have had a really noble goal when he first joined, and maybe over the years he just became a really hard military kind of guy. The stuff he saw changed him, you know what I mean? But maybe Akainu has this, you know, vision of, like, when he first wanted to join the Marines when he was a little kid, it was, you know, to better the world, to improve it. And Akainu even has an epiphany where he's like, the Tenryubito are not the best interest in the world. We'd be better off without them. We can do it without them. They're kind of unnecessary. I mean, yeah, they provide the money for everybody, but they themselves are so horribly corrupted, it doesn't even mean anything at that point, you know? So Garp could be the Will of D in the Marines, rallying everybody together. Obviously, Dragon is the Will of D, voice of reason for the Revolutionary Army, for the common folk of the One Piece world, just the regular civilians. He's going to be their voice. And Luffy is going to be the voice of reason for the pirates of the One Piece world. And through those three people, Garp, Dragon, and Luffy, all members of the monkey family, the world will begin to change. I just literally pulled that out as I went about it. Man! Yeah, okay, well, there we go. All right, that's a good note to end the video on. I don't know if I could do better than that, but man, I like that idea. Man, that makes a lot of sense to me, all right? It would tie the themes together and everything near the end. Yeah, let's roll with that. Okay, so yeah, let me know below on what your viewpoints are on this. How you view the theme of freedom in the One Piece world, or other series as well. You could talk about other ones, your favorite. Like, I think Attack on Titan does this idea the best, or I think this other series does it the best. It doesn't even have to be an anime. Like I said, this theme is everywhere, you know, the whole idea of vying for ultimate freedom or changing the world. Avatar: The Last Airbender, once again, same pretty much deal, you know, the oppressive forces, the Fire Nation. It's been done quite often. I think the reason it's been done quite often is because it's so relatable to our world. Because throughout history, this has always happened. You know, there's always been a really strong force that's manipulated a lot of people. Look at Germany in World War II, you know, and trying to stand against that, and, you know, changing the world and stuff like that. So I think because it's happened so many times in our world, and even continues to happen, it's such a strong theme in the works of fiction. So anyway, yeah, let me know what you think about that below. This will be Tekking101 signing out. Later, everybody. We can do Nami's video, like, maybe, you know, well, tomorrow's the Black Clover video, but, you know, we can do another Nami video. It's cool. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm just gonna put that on the standby forever. Oh, I'm a perv.